Recently, I saw the movie Spider-Man: Brand New Day. Peter Parker is behind the mask. People have already forgotten who he is, and yet he just does this life. And I feel like sometimes that's just like you and I. We have a mask that we wear, and we feel like people have forgotten us or they don't even see who we really are. And this is where I love Psalm 139. David writes in verse 23, "Search me, God, know my heart. I want you to try me in my anxious thoughts and see if there's any hurtful way within me." He's like saying, God, would you take off my mask? Would you expose who I really am? Because I think David understood the character of God quite well. If you take some time today and read Psalm 139, you'll see and discover you can't outrun God. You can't hide from his presence. You could even be in the dark. And David writes, the light is dark, is like dark to you. You're there. You even see me. Even in the womb, you were there. I love it how he writes in verse 15. He's like, my frame was not even hidden from you. I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the depths of the earth. Like you saw me. I couldn't hide or escape your presence. Listen to what he says in verse 17 of Psalm 139. How precious are your thoughts to me, God? How vast is the actual sum of your thoughts about me? If I should count them, he says, they would outnumber the grains of sand. And so I began to think like literally, how many grains of sand are there? So I went to the beach, I picked up some sand, and as I was holding sand in my hand, I began to count just how many grains are there. And I couldn't count them all because a wind would blow and it would blow out of my hand. And I just began to think like, okay, how often have I used sand in my life? And how much sand is there in the world? Because if this is true, what David is saying, I want you to think and just imagine with me the depths of God's love. His thoughts you are always on his mind. There was a time I got some sand and I was trying to put some sand in the pavers of my house. Now, I had to go to the store to get that. And you look at the sand within the store at Home Depot or Lowe's or Walmart or Menards, wherever you might be, there was sand everywhere. Now, that's just one store in one town. But think of all the other towns and all the other cities. That's a lot of sand that are in bags. And that sand is thus used for not just sand and pavers, but it's also used for playgrounds or sandboxes of the world. And we haven't even touched sandwiches for that matter, right? Think about that. Like God's thoughts about you are more than our grains of sand. But when I think of sand, now I grew up in Arizona, so Arizona is just a place full of sand. It's a desert. And in a desert, there's like sand dunes, like in Yuma, or the Sahara Desert, or deserts all around this world. And yet, God's thoughts about you and I are more than there are grains of sand. If I should count them, they would outnumber it. It's incredible to think about. But where is sand most that we all think about right away, right? The beach. Of course, I go to the beach. And there on the Pacific, there's a ton of sand up and down the coastline. But that's just one area on the beach. Imagine the Atlantic side, or in Europe, Australia, the Hawaiian Islands, like everywhere around this world, there is sand all along the coast. There, even sand dollars are present, and people are building sand castles. And hey, I moved to Ohio. There's even a place called Sandusky. Imagine that. Like God's thoughts about you, about me, are more than there are grains of sand. Is that all the sand that there could possibly be? Nope, there's more. Underneath that ocean, underneath that water, you know what there's more sand. Sand all throughout this earth. And God's thoughts about you are more than there are grains of sand. I love how David even ends that thought. He says, even when I awake, I am still with you. Well, why is that? Well, every time I awake, I have that, what in my eye? I have that sand in my eye from the Sandman, right? But who's the Sandman? Well, that's God. I think it's God because he reminds me of his faithfulness. His mercies are new every morning. And every time I awake, I got that stuff, that gunk in my eye. Some people call it the sand. It's like I've got that reminder that even every day I awake, God is with me. because nothing can separate me from the love of God. And I don't know what trial or thing you've walked through or things that might even push you away from the presence of God. God's actually saying, no, those things happen because I want you to open that up to me so that I can draw closer to you. You see, the Bible teaches us when we draw closer to Jesus, he draws closer to us because we see and experience his love. His arms can wrap us and gather around us like never before. Today, allow the Lord to reveal his character to you by opening up the mask and say, God, would you expose me? Investigate me. See if there's any hurtful way in me, because I want you to, as he says, lead me in an everlasting way. I want you to hold my hand like never before so I can experience your love, because God loves you no matter what has happened in your life. He loves you more than there are grains of sand because he's thinking about you so much. That's a powerful thought to hold. Today, I invite you just to draw near to Jesus because he's right there.